And welcome up to the second floor of Duncan Student Center for another edition of Shamrock Sports. We are so pleased to be with you here on the backside of fall break alongside Phelan Murray and Trey Cody. I'm Tyler Reedy, and hey, this might be the best tie game we've had all year on the set.
I think it has to be. We were covering all our bases here. We have a lot of variety.
Yeah, no question about it. And hey, we're going to celebrate by talking about two sports that cannot tie here today. Basketball and football on the docket. Kean Bagenstills will join us later on to talk about the Irish football team, ranked 8th in the nation and on their second bye. But hey, let's start with a team ranked number 6 in the country going into their season. Notre Dame women's basketball getting underway on Monday, 5 p.m. against Mercyhurst. Expectations are high, Fionn. What can this team achieve?
Let me just say, first of all, I am so excited for basketball to be back. I cannot wait. I've always watched college basketball from afar. Was up till like 5 a.m. watching March Madness last year. Nice to be able to, have a sleep schedule and March Madness. But Notre Dame, this women's team, Olivia Miles returning after an ACL tear. It's so very close to national championship level. I don't know if it's quite there, but it's going to be a great year.
I'm going to be an optimist. This team has every single tool they need to win a national championship. I'm not going to give a guarantee, obviously, but they're so good. You're returning one of the top 5 players in the country in Hannah Hidalgo. You're getting Olivia Miles back, who's coming off an ACL injury. You had a great transfer class. You have a very strong freshman class as well. There's some injuries, so who knows how that's going to go, and there's a lot of teams. And when you're trying to predict national championships in March Madness, it's impossibly difficult. But there's nothing about this women's basketball team that tells me they don't have what it takes to get it done.
And a big piece of that potential for Notre Dame, the reigning ACC Freshman of the Year, one of the top players in the country, no matter who you ask, Hannah Hidalgo going into her sophomore year. She's a candidate for the Wooden Award. Can she win it, Trey?
Why not? It's just like my national champion pick. She has every tool. There's no reason she should not be a front runner and a strong contender. She's ranked 3rd. She has the 3rd best odds behind some other very strong players. She's at plus 850. I would hammer that. I think you're getting great value there. She averaged 22 points a game last year, 6 rebounds, almost 6 assists, and over 4.5 steals. Over 4.5 steals is so impressive. That is so difficult to do. She was the best defensive guard in the country. Oh, and at the same time, she had the keys to the offense and ran a fantastic offense as well. I think that she has every tool. She has every ability. She might have a bit of a lesser role this year with some other really good players on the team now, but I think that this team will go as she goes, and I think this team's going to be really good. She has every potential to win the Wooden Award.
But, Fionn, even with Caitlin Clark gone, there are good players around the country, too.
There are incredibly good players around the country. You mentioned she is 3rd in sort of preseason odds. I think the 2 players above her, Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins, are unfortunately a little too likely to, win out in their odds. I think having Olivia Miles back will be great for the team, but the problem is it might not be great for her individual performance, meaning an award might not be in the offing, but I think a better season is.
Okay, we'll see what happens. And hey, Hannah Hidalgo's not the only candidate on this Irish team. This is a team loaded with star power. You bring back Olivia Miles, finally returning from her ACL injury. Maddie Westbeld and Sonia Citron are back at the forward and guard positions, respectively. It's a question of whether those 4 can stay healthy. Already some issues arising among the team this year, but if they're all out there together, it's going to be a challenge for other teams, but it could also be a challenge, Fionn, for Notre Dame to manage all of that star power. We saw it with LSU last year. It can be tough.
Talent is a great thing to have on your side, and you can't do anything without talent. But that being said, sometimes, especially when it comes to point guards and sharing the ball, like you have 2 of the best point guards in America here. That being said, you only have 1 basketball. Both players have just incredible stats there. Like Miles, 14.3 points in her last season. Hidalgo, 22 last year. 22 in your freshman year. I don't think we quite appreciate that as much as it needs to be. It's just incredible what these players have been able to do. But together, I think we might have a rough first few months. I think the non-con games we might suffer a little, but going into March, I'm a little more confident.
Trey, one thing that could help out the Irish in terms of managing all the star power, you bring in some new faces as well, get them into the mix, and maybe that helps spread the wealth around. You've got 2 really strong transfers, players that were all conference first-teamers, Liza Carlin from Marquette, Leah Tu King from Pitt.
Yeah, this was a fantastic transfer class, really, really strong. And it's going to add a lot of depth at the wing position to this team that I think is going to be really important down the stretch. And a lot of injuries right now. We're missing Maddie Westbeld. Liza Carlin just had an ankle injury the other day. So who knows how that's going to play out. But I am super excited to watch this team. Liatu King, I'll start with her. Pitt transfer, she was the most improved player in the ACC a year ago. She averaged 18 points a game, up from 10 the year before. And she adds a great depth at wing position that this team needs. She doesn't shoot a whole lot. She didn't attempt a single three-pointer her entire career so far. I don't think that's going to change. But we don't need her to do that. She plays really, really well in transition. She's great defensively and can post up. Her strong suit is coming off screens, which I think is going to be really good with Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles, both running offense that way. And then Liza Carlin, while plays a similar position, is a similar size, completely different offensive style of game. She does a lot of pick and pops, which I think is another thing that's going to add a lot of variety to this offense. It's going to make them really hard to defend. And she's really good facing up. She catches the ball in the mid-range, squares up, and then she can pass off that with cutters. Or if the defender's backing off her, she's a really good mid-range jump shot. She shot over 2 threes a game last year and shot around 30%. I think that both of these transfers add so much at the wing position and the forward position that this team is going to really, really need and enjoy down the stretch come March.
Only one freshman on this year's team, but Fiona, a really good one in Kate Koval in the middle.
I am so excited to see Kate Koval start playing. She's also European like me. I hail from the Emerald Isle, but she's coming from Ukraine. She did her high school at Lutheran High School in Long Island. I think, has every potential to be an all-conference level player here. I think she even has the potential to space the floor. The amount of threes she took kind of varied throughout high school, but she's got a great post game. Nikola Jokic is her favorite player, if you want to make the European comparisons, but overall, a great addition.
Certainly, and plenty of them for Notre Dame going into this season. Again, the opener 5 p.m. Monday against Mercyhurst. Coming up on the other side of this break, we're going to celebrate the day after Halloween, I guess, with a little bit of trick-or-treat for Notre Dame football. Talk about what we like going into November and what might not be as valid for the Fighting Irish. Kean Bagenstos joins us on the other side.
No ball? Let the seasoned ball knowers at Shamrock Sports get you up to date on all things ball around Notre Dame. Shamrock Sports airs 3:30 p.m. every Friday right here on NDTV. Go Irish.
Welcome back to Shamrock Sports. Tyler Reddy alongside Kean Bagenstos, who joins us now to talk some Irish football. Kean, great to see you. It's going to be some trick-or-treat here the day after Halloween. And I guess to start, we need to specify what kind of treat we're talking about. What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Cookies and cream Hershey's or Kit Kats. Either one, either one. And I was going to say, I don't like ties.
Okay, all right. Can't go wrong with either of those. So we'll get it started here. Notre Dame football ranked 8th in the country going into November here. Irish on their second bye week after obliterating 24th ranked Navy last Saturday. And Kean, I'll give you a statement here. If you like it, if you think it's true, you'll say treat. If you don't, we'll say trick. So to start with here, Notre Dame's offense is now top 20 in the nation in terms of scoring output. They've officially arrived. Trick or treat?
definitely a treat because you look up to Miami, our passing game averaged 8.84 yards per game, but from Miami until last week, or from Miami to last week, we've averaged 11.36 yards per game. And as from 3 years of experience as a Notre Dame fan, I can say we've always had a tremendous run game, stone cold defense, but we've always struggled in the pass game. And from Miami until just this week, I feel we've had more, we averaged more passing yards against some better defenses. We had Miami, Ohio, surprisingly the 24th best defense in the nation. Louisville's number 73 in terms of pass defense. Stanford was number 122. Georgia Tech is 57, and Navy is 71. So definitely, we got improved passing yardage these past 5 weeks against some better defenses. So I definitely think our pass game is going, but in development. But the question is, will it pay off in the playoffs, and will it translate against some of these elite teams that we'll face potentially in December, January?
So that offense has helped Notre Dame to a 6-game win streak. Irish at 7-1 now, and people are starting to ask, with Notre Dame now with 3 wins over teams ranked at the time of the game, does the Week 2 home loss to Northern Illinois matter anymore? Is the significance of NIU fading? Trick or treat?
I'm going to go trick because I'm going to give a school analogy here, right? You bomb the first exam. You kind of regroup, lock in, and then you do good on every single assignment. When you're calculating that final grade, the first exam still counts. Likewise, yes, we've really gotten better. We've gotten some great wins, but the NIU loss will still be considered by the committee when we're talking should the Irish be put into the playoffs. And compared to some of those other one-loss teams, our loss does not exactly check out. For example, Clemson, their one loss was against Georgia. Boise State, shout out to JT, the best running back in the country. Boise State's one loss was against Oregon. Georgia's one loss was against Alabama. And Tennessee's one loss was against Arkansas. And yes, Arkansas is unranked, but they're still in the SEC. And just losing to a MAC school does not pan out compared to some of the other one-loss teams that we're competing for the playoffs with. So we're really got to make sure we cannot lose another game. We got to make sure our play is crisp and clean, and we win in style.
In the meantime, we await Tuesday night and the release of the first college football playoff rankings. Top 12 teams get in at the end of the season, but this is going to give us our first indication of where Notre Dame stands in the eyes of the committee. So, Kian, I'll raise you this. Notre Dame is inside that top 12 come Tuesday. Trick or treat?
Definitely a treat, but in terms of yes, we're definitely a top 12 team, but to make sure we make the playoffs, I think we have some teams in other conferences that are some threats. We're going over to Big 12, ACC, and the Big 10. So for the Big 12, we have number 11, Iowa State. They're undefeated. They've had no ranked wins, but still undefeated inside the top 12. Then we have number 17, Kansas State. They're 6-1, and they won against Coach Prime, Shador, and Travis's number 23 Colorado Buffaloes by 3, and they lost to number 9 BYU by like 29 points. So, but they still had some ranked wins, and I feel that both teams are threats. So what we want to happen is in Week 12, when Iowa State and Kansas State play each other, we want Iowa State to take Kansas State out, and then BYU to take out Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. And then let's shift over to the ACC. We got a number 11 Clemson. They're 6-1. Like us, they've had an easier schedule. They've had no ranked wins, but their one loss is against Georgia, which is better than our one loss. And we have number 18 Pitt, a big surprise this year, going undefeated, beating my Cincinnati Bearcats in Week 2, a blown fourth quarter. But Pittsburgh, like Clemson, they've had no ranked wins, but they have the opportunity to get some big wins because they'll play number 11 Clemson, number 20 SMU. So what we're going to want to happen in the ACC, Clemson or SMU take out Pitt, and then in the ACC championship, let's have Miami take out Clemson, and then I think we should get in. And now in terms of competing in the playoffs, right now, according to the AP poll, we would play Tennessee, and Tennessee's definitely a weaker team, losing to Arkansas. So I feel our defense and run game will be able to dominate them. The question is, like I said in the first segment, will the passing game development be able to translate against a truly elite team?
All right, well, there's your roadmap right there. And let's hope in the spirit of trick-or-treat, some elite teams dress up as phonies this weekend, and Notre Dame continues to climb up those rankings. Coming up on the other side of the break, we'll hit you with some Friday headlines and preview the Notre Dame men's basketball season, which begins just 5 days from now. Welcome to Shamrock Sports. My name is Tyler Reedy, joined alongside Avery White and Cooper Van Driesch. And hey, we've got a great show on tap today as the anticipation is building, with Notre Dame football set to take the field once again tomorrow.
I know. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Notre Dame offensive line comes out.
Check up. Let's go.
That position group will be critical for the Irish.
Hey! That's and one. That's and one.
Hey, I hate to be that guy, but we're kind of in the middle of something here. It's pretty important.
We know you guys want to play too. I mean, we need 3 more.
3 more? Yeah, I've been waiting for this. Come on. Welcome back to Shamrock Sports. Our coverage of Notre Dame basketball continues in a moment, but first we've got plenty to catch you up on elsewhere in Fighting Irish athletics. Last night, the 13th ranked Notre Dame women's soccer team clinched a spot in the ACC tournament with a 3-2 defeat of Pittsburgh on the regular season's final match day. Freshman forward Izzy Engel tallied 2 goals, bringing her to 15 on the season. Good for second in the conference, and with the 6th seed in the ACC tournament, Notre Dame will begin postseason play at 3rd-seeded Florida State Sunday at 8 p.m. The Notre Dame men's soccer team will finish its regular season at number 5 Duke tonight in Durham, North Carolina. Since switching to graduate student Colin Travassos in goal a week and a half ago, the Irish have won 2 straight matches, shutting out both UIC and Cal. At 7-3-5 overall and 3-2-2 in ACC play, Notre Dame has a chance to bolster both its conference and postseason tournament positioning at 7 p.m. this evening. Also at 7 o'clock tonight, 19th-ranked Notre Dame hockey will start Big Ten conference play by hosting Wisconsin at Compton Family Ice Arena. The Irish went 4-2-0 in October and enter the weekend with junior goalie Owen Say leading college hockey in save percentage at .969. Wisconsin swept Notre Dame in the season series last year, but is off to a rough start this year at 1-5-0. Finally, the Notre Dame volleyball team has a high-profile home match coming up Saturday at 3 p.m. inside Purcell Pavilion. The Irish will host number 4 Louisville for the second leg of a home-away series after dropping a 3-0 match to the Cardinals on Wednesday. Notre Dame is looking to snap a 7-game losing skid and win for the first time since October 6th. Coming up on November 6th, Notre Dame men's basketball is going to open up the season, and let's bring on Fionn and Trey once again to preview the Irish home opener against Stonehill this Wednesday evening at Purcell Pavilion. And this men's basketball team, momentum's the big word to use to describe this program right now. Micah Shrewsbury, first year a season ago, slow start, but really started to build in the ACC play. Recruiting has picked up as of late, and now we ask, can the momentum continue into year 2?
I am so excited for this season of college basketball. This is my bread and butter. This is my thing. And it's going to be different than last year in the most great way possible. No one's predicting us to win a national championship. We're not even close, but we're getting closer, and that's what matters. I think Micah Shrewsbury, when I talked to him at the end of last January, he told me that the next 2 months to close out the season, regardless of how the team performed, it was about culture setting. It was about playing as a team and building culture, getting buy-in from some of those young guys. And I think that has happened. I went to an open practice a week or 2 ago here on campus. The feel around this college basketball team is so different than last year. Everyone is excited, everyone's bought in, and we're looking to build on some of those really big wins we had at the end of last year. We beat Clemson in the regular season, who we all know went on an Elite 8 run. We beat a really, really good Wake Forest team. We competed with Duke. We played really well at the end of the season, and I think that's going to get some very good momentum carrying over into this year. I don't think we're going to shock the world and be a top 5 seed in the tournament, but I think that we could certainly be flirting as a bubble team, maybe to make a tournament when a lot of people are predicting us to be a lot lower.
And a big reason for Notre Dame's success last year, now going into this year, Fionn, the Mishawaka man. Marcus Burton leading the backcourt for Notre Dame, a terrific player as a freshman a season ago. And now he and this Irish backcourt, along with Braden Shrewsbury, who had some big performances last year, look for continued development. What are you looking for from those two, and Burton specifically, going into this year?
Well, Marcus Burton now has far more weapons to deal with. He is just such an athletic player. Like, he's not 6 foot. He's not 5'10". He's maybe 5'9". Like, they list him at 5'11". That's not how tall Marcus Burton is. He gets blocks. He gets steals. 1.9 steals last year. He's, I think, 17.5 points last year. I would expect that number to go up. I would expect the assist number to go up even more. I think it's just a better team around him, and that's how a point guard thrives.
Trey, I mean, on the other side of it, you can add on to Burton as well, but definitely want to talk about the big man play as well. It's not quite the hedging screens demonstration here today, but we've got a lot to cover. Kerry Booth, the most notable loss, transferring to Illinois, but you bring back Keba Jai and Tay Davis, and Notre Dame has a chance to take some strides forward and find more of an identity in the paint.
Yeah, first of all, I'll start with Burton. The one thing, and that I think I totally agree with everything you said, the one thing that I think is going to be massive for him this year is the addition of a three-point jump shot. He shot 30.0% from three last year on the nose. I think that was pretty cool. But that number's going to go up. Seeing him, how he played in the scrimmage the other day against Purdue-Fort Wayne, and how he's been playing in practice, he is shooting the ball with confidence, and he's shooting it a lot. I think that adds so much, and it's going to force people to try to run him off the line a little bit more. And for someone that can get downhill like he can, I am really excited to watch how that dynamic plays out now that teams have to respect him on the perimeter, even more so than they did a year ago. To get to the front court, this is kind of where the team slips a little bit, in my opinion. We get back starting center Keba Jai, who averaged 4 points a game last year, only shooting 37% from the field as a center who doesn't take jump shots. That's not a good look. I'm really hoping that number goes up. If Keba Jai can be a little bit more efficient in the paint and get a little bit more rebounds, I think that really adds something to this team. Another big man that I'm looking to kind of replace that Kerry Booth role a little bit is Berk Chebuhar, the Lehigh transfer. He can shoot the ball. He shot over 30% from three last year as a power forward. He's a 6'8" guy, so he's not going to come in and maybe replace Keba, but if we want to run a small ball lineup, he can definitely take some of those minutes at the 5. I think he's going to add some depth at the 4 and 5 that we didn't really have last year and replace a lot of that productivity from Booth.
We know that the big recruits are coming. Look at Jalen Harrelson and some of the others Micah Shrewsbury's picked up within the last month, but let's talk about the guys that are here now and new to the squad. You've got 3 transfers, 4 freshmen going into this year's team. Fiona, who do you have your eye on as someone who could make an instant impact for Notre Dame coming in?
So it may not be the name that jumps off the screen, but as a European, it seems that it's just the role I'm in here.
I'm sensing a trend here.
I'm sensing a trend. European big men, or European bigs. It's Nikita Konstantinovsky. He's also got the rebounding skill that Kate Koval does, but he comes with a lot more experience. He's coming here from
Monmouth.
From Monmouth. Yep. There we go. Monmouth. CAA. My bad. There's a lot of names. New American universities. A lot of names to learn. But
so many.
Yeah. So he's got the rebounding skill and real intensity. I was at that open practice with Trey, and like my first time seeing the men's team at all in person. But I was just really impressed by the level of intensity he was playing at. He was a real culture setter there, and I think bringing in someone with that level of experience, going into lead guard Marcus Burton's second year, and the culture overall, I think definitely moved the team in the right direction.
Trey, we'll move to you in a second. I just want to say hats off to Fiona. That was a 15-letter last name pronunciation. He just nailed it. Way to go, my friend. Trey, your thoughts on the newcomers?
I think that the transfer class was not ranked very highly. Mm-hmm. There's one transfer that this team got that I think is going to have a huge impact immediately, and that's Matt Alaco. He was a Princeton guard. We're probably going to start him at the small forward position alongside Braden Shrewsbury at that wing position. He shot 42% from 3 last year, 45% from 3 his freshman year at Princeton a few years ago. He's a shooter. He moves really well off the ball. He can catch and shoot. And I think the one thing that he adds, other than just a veteran presence, is he takes so much pressure off of Braden Shrewsbury to shoot the 3 last year. Braden Shrewsbury, not a great start to the year. He had a lot of pressure. He was our only guy that could really put up numbers from outside. He got better as the year went on, as he got more confident and more comfortable. I'm looking forward to a big year from him as well. I think Matt Alaco takes a lot of that pressure off so that Braden's not the only guy we're relying on to hit a big 3 in the clutch. Having Matt and Braden at that 2 and 3 position is really, really good. Matt's going to add a lot to this team from a veteran presence. there's a lot of freshmen too. Sir Muhammad, Cole Serta, Garrett Sundra, 3 4-stars. Sir Muhammad, the most highly touted of them. He's probably going to be our 6th or 7th man off the bench this year. They should have a role on this team. It's a young team. They add a lot. It's a bit of an oversaturated backcourt with some of the older guys, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this transfer and this freshman class can have an immediate impact come Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday, 7 p.m. against Stonehill, the home opener for Notre Dame men's basketball and the season opener after an exhibition win at Purdue-Fort Wayne. Back on Wednesday. Coming up next after this break, we're going to talk schedule spooktacular. Look at some teams that could potentially haunt Notre Dame men's and women's basketball and just who we're excited to see the Irish square off against coming up this season. Keep it here in Shamrock Sports. Welcome back to Shamrock Sports. We've moved off the desk to talk some scheduling here between Notre Dame men's and women's basketball. And we'll start with the women's team. This is a loaded non-con slate. You go to USC in the middle of November. You host Texas and UConn in the first half of December. And then, of course, there's the ACC, which is always one of the best conferences in women's college basketball. Trey, I'll go to you first. Who are you excited for, and who are you a little bit fearful of going into this year?
Well, I think there's a lot of overlap there for me because I'm excited and nervous for UConn. That's a game I'll be calling on WVFI alongside my good friend Jake Irons, so make sure to check that out on December 12th. A little self-plug there, right? But I think that this UConn team, they're coming off a Final Four appearance, and they're getting back their lead scorer, Paige Beckers, who has the best odds in the country to win the Wooden Award. Hannah Hidalgo, one of her main competitors. UConn should be the Big East champion this year. They get a lot back, specifically with Paige, but then they also get a lot of newcomers. They have Allie Ziebel, a Wisconsin native. I love that. Another Wisconsin native, KK Arnold, returner who started at the shooting guard position for them last year. They have a lot of good returners, a really good freshman class. They got Sarah Strong, the #1 recruit in the country last year. UConn scares me a little bit. I think that's going to be a really good test kind of early in the season. There's a lot of those. I think UConn's the one that I'm looking forward the most to, but also the most nervous for to see how we can compete with a team that went on such a great run last season.
All right, and Fio, what do you look for when you observe this schedule for Notre Dame women's hoops?
I hate to keep the UConn theme going, but UConn is the team I'm most excited to see. When I saw that result, I was still back home. I'm only here for the semester, so this is the marquee matchup that I am here to see. I was, again, up late watching players like Paige Beckers play super late into the night back home. It's going to be so nice to watch it live and in person. That's incredible. In terms of fear and spook, that's a USC for me. I think playing USC away, especially given their huge transfer, biggest transfer of the summer on the women's basketball side, Kiki Iriafen coming from Stanford, where she was teammates with Cameron Brink. Now no more Tara Van Devere. That program's kind of going into rebuild phase. She moves to USC, where you have now just a lot of firepower, and I see Juju Watkins getting a whole lot better. That's the matchup that I worry about most for this backcourt that are really only just getting to know each other. So that's going to be a real test. If they get through that, I think my ceiling goes to national championship.
Okay, so then right after that USC matchup, the men's basketball team on the other side goes to Vegas for the Players Era Festival. And Trey, you've got your eye on some potentially tough, frisky matchups for the Irish there out in Nevada?
Yeah, and my pick for the scary matchup was Alabama before they decided to just completely change the entire format of the tournament 2 weeks ago, which makes no sense. Alabama's my national champion pick. But this Houston team, is very similar to that Alabama team, as in they went on a good run last year. They lost in the Sweet 16 to a Duke team, but they were dealing with a lot of injuries there. They won the Big 12 in their first year as conference members, and Kelvin Sampson, one of the best coaches in the country, he's going to have his team ready. Their preseason AP 4 in the country, get a lot back with guys like Emmanuel Sharp, LJ Cryer, pretty good transfer class as well. And I'm not scared of them in terms of we're going to lose, because we're going to lose. I'm scared of them in terms of if we cannot compete with a team at that level, that really dampens my expectations for how this team's going to compete in ACC play. I think if we can keep it close and show some glimpses that we can compete on a level like that, it means so much going forward in the future and gives confidence to this team for the rest of the season. And if that doesn't happen, it could be a rough time come December.
All right, Trey Cody keeping it real. That's why we love him around these parts. Now, the game before Houston for the Irish, a First Four 2022 rematch against Rutgers. That was a great game, went to overtime, and feeling you've got your eye on that one to start the Players Era Festival.
I am excited and nervous for that game because Rutgers are coming to the season ranked 25th in the nation. They had an incredible recruiting class. That being said, you worry that Notre Dame can't compete there, and if they can't compete there, like you're saying Houston is a potential banana. I think Houston, no matter what happens there, it's a learning experience. If Rutgers, that could be a moment where it's like, oh my God, we competing with Rutgers? Or it can be like, oh, that was embarrassing. So Rutgers might be better than that 25th ranking makes them. We'll see what happens there, but I think that one will be more telling than that one's on the 26th, I believe, in November. On the 28th, the Houston game. I think that's a foregone conclusion, unfortunately.
Okay, so season starts on Monday for the women, on Wednesday for the men, and coming up on the other side of this break, even though it's a bye week, even though we're talking hoops, Shambookie's still here, folks. Even on the other side of fall break, we're going to talk our picks coming up this season, some over-under player props for totals all year long, and then, of course, the win totals. How many do you think the Irish men and women are going to win this year? That's coming up as you're watching Shamrock Sports on NDTV.
Hey Irish, if you want to hear the news from campus this week, watch some exciting segments, or learn about this coming weekend's campus events, make sure to tune in to ND Sunrise, which airs every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on the NDTV YouTube channel.
Welcome back to Shamrock Sports. Our final segment of the day here as we're previewing Notre Dame men's and women's basketball and hitting some player props for totals on the season. Trey, we'll start with you here. Marcus Burton, the man we highlighted earlier, over/under 5.5 assists per game.
Over. This team got a lot of weapons offensively. I think that a lot of the reason he didn't average over 5.5 assists a game last year isn't because he wasn't being a good facilitator. It was more so people weren't making their shots. I think Matalaka, who I spoke ad nauseum about, is going to add so much. Braden Shrewsbury is going to be even better. I think people are just going to make more shots on this team, and he's going to continue to do a fantastic job of penetrating and dishing.
Okay, Fiona, you in agreement?
Completely. I think I couldn't have said it better myself. I think Matalaka is going to just increase the firepower that Notre Dame has. And, you know, after Christmas last year, Braden Shrewsbury was one of the best shooters in the nation. And even then, he ended up with 37% from three, which is an incredible mark as it is. So, that's an over.
All right, the other outstanding sophomore guard we talked about earlier, Hannah Hidalgo. Her thing, not just assists, but steals. 4.5, over/under. Give it to me, Trey.
Maybe I'm just an optimist, except for the Houston game. I'm picking the over here. She's never given me a reason not to trust her. She can do everything. She had almost 5 steals last game. I think she's just going to keep going up and up and up and get better. Because why wouldn't she? Why would I not believe?
Okay.
I think that Notre Dame guards will steal more balls this year than they did last year. That being said, that's just because Olivia Miles is joining the team, and she had 1.9 steals a game in her last season healthy for Notre Dame. So I think overall, probably more steals for the team, less steals for Hannah Hidalgo, just less steals to go around.
All right, you mentioned Olivia Miles. She's the final player prop here. Over/under 7 assists. Trey, what do you got for me?
Here I'm going under. I'm going under. I'm not worried about there being too many cooks in the kitchen with this team. I think they'll be just fine on that front. There's enough ball to go around, and I think they're all going to play selfless. Hannah Hidalgo takes the ball up a lot. Olivia Miles averaged 6.9 assists in her last season 2 years ago. I think that number has to go down simply because of the addition of a ball-dominant guard in Hannah Hidalgo. I think she'll be great. I think she could be around that 5 or 6 mark, but I don't think she gets up to 7.
Field?
I agree, and also just having someone like Maddie Westbelt injured for the first middle stretch of the season, you've just got less firepower there. I'd say, yeah, 5 or 6, but 7's a stretch.
All right, last one here. The win totals. You can specify here whether you want to factor in the postseason or not, but put simply, starting with the men's basketball team, how many games are the Irish going to win this year?
19, not including postseason play.
Okay.
If we include the ACC tournament, I think this could be a 20-win basketball team, which is higher than most people are picking. Our non-conference outside of Vegas really is not that challenging. We played Georgia and Georgetown as the only 2 major conference opponents. I think we can beat both of them, even though they're both on the road. I have us going 8-3 in the non-con, and then I have us going 11-9 in ACC play, above 500 in ACC play for the first time in who knows how long. That'd be really special. We only played Duke once, we only played Carolina once, and we have 2 games against some of the weaker teams like a Boston College or Virginia Tech. I think that they could easily go 11-9 and be a 20-win team come March.
All right, Fiona, you're going a tick lower?
I seemingly am just less optimistic than Trey in most things. I think with 13-20 last year, I'm going to say 17-16 would be my overall thoughts.
Okay, pretty close together, just below 20. We'll see how it goes. Now, we're both overshooting 20 here for women's basketball. Not a big surprise.
Well
Pushing 30. Trey, lead us off.
Yeah, I am going a little bit less, but I'm also not including the postseason.
Right.
I think we're going to go 24-5 in the regular season, which is a very good record considering the schedule we have. We play USC, Texas, and UConn out of conference, and with some early season injuries, who knows how that ends up. Those could be 3 losses. I hope not, and I don't think so, but they certainly could be. And then the ACC is probably the best conference in women's basketball this year with a lot of ranked teams. We play a lot of really good opponents like a Louisville, like a Virginia Tech, like a North Carolina. It's just really hard to consistently be really, really good in the ACC. I think we're going to stumble a few times, but I think overall 24 wins before that ACC tournament tips off.
Now, Fiona, you are factoring in the postseason, and you've got a big number too.
It's 29. I'd say regular season, I'd be in agreement with that sort of 24 figure, but I think hopefully heading towards another ACC championship and continuing on from there. Overall prediction, I would say Final Four, Elite 8, hopefully on the Final Four, maybe even National Final.
Okay. Trey, you want to take us home? You have another thought here on an upcoming game.
I do. And it's Sham Bookie, my favorite segment. And we are kicking it off right away. Season opener on Monday. Give me Baylor plus 4.5 in Spokane against Gonzaga for a top 10 matchup on the men's side. Hammer Baylor plus 4.5 if you want to make some money. We're starting early. And we're making money all season.
All right, you heard it here first. Bet Baylor, go Irish, and keep it right here to Notre Dame Television. Big week coming up next week. Got our election coverage in the early part of next week, and then the Florida State preview a week from today on Friday as the football team returns to action. It's going to be a great one. Big thank you to our whole team behind the scenes today for Kean Bagenstos, Fiona Murray, and Trey Cody. I'm Tyler Reedy. And thank you, as always, for watching. This has been Shamrock Sports on Notre Dame Television. Have a great weekend.